In this video, I'm going over to create the rib, the shell, and also we go over the chamfer and the fillet, and we go over the draft commands. So let's start running the app. We go to the xDesign. And I put the name for create new component. So this part for the initial the software is depend on the speed of your internet and also your graphic card. So sometimes maybe it take a little while. If you didn't see this part, close the program again and try to run the app again. Or if you face the problem for the same time, you close your browser and try to restart the dashboard from the beginning. So I just put the name for this part as a 495 and I put it as a shell. Okay, so for the start, I'm going to create two different bodies, and I go over the feature of the we have the chamfer and the fillet, and I talk about what is the difference between these two, and then we go doing the shell and also talk a little about the draft. So let me select this plane and create two objects. I create two boxes as my base. So I create one that the two lines are not the same, and I create another one, and for this one I just want to make both line almost the same. Okay, so I go off the sketch and then I create my extrude. I select both of them and I put 100 millimeter, and this one right now, this is the base that I want to work on that. So to create the fillet, you usually need to have a base or object, and then you create your fillet, or you put the chamfer. The main reason for using this fillet and the chamfer is that on the sharp corner, when two faces meet each other under some stress, under some load, you have the stress point. So there's a high chance that on the sharp edge, the component start to cracking or failing. For that reason, the fillet is one way to reduce the stress location, stress point at the sharp edge. So you put the fillet and you reduce the stress location inside your component or part. The main reason to using the chamfer is that when you have a two separate part and you want to push one part to the other one, you put the chamfer at the edge to somehow guide the one object to the other one. So for example, if I have a hole here and I want to put the pin, I put the chamfer at the edge of the hole in this box and also chamfer on the pin to make sure that these two slide together very easily. Okay, so let's start with the fillet and go over the commands that we have in the fillet option. Okay. So you have two different options for the fillet. One of them is the constant. So you just select the edge or the face that you want and you create your fillet with the radius that you want. So if I select this face and I put there like the 30 millimeter, I get my fillet here. So this is the fillet that I created at this edge. Let me edit this one. If I change the edge to the face, then all of the 4 lines that I have related to this face, they receive the fillet with the radius that I defined. Okay, so you have some features here. So for example, if I select these three different lines, so let me take off the edge 1. So if I create this fillet and then I create another one, you notice that right now I don't have the sharp edge anymore at the location of these 2 lines that I had here before. Right now is a tangent, and I have a smooth line that start from the end of the fillet and go to the other side. So now if I select this line, the top line, and I put the same radius, you can see that the end point for the fillet is at the middle of the 2 other fillets. So this is the point that my sharp edge ended. Before I put this fillet, that was the point that the 2 other lines meet each other. If I create this one, you see that there is some kind of the sharp edge at the end of the location of these 3 fillet meet each other. To remove that sharp edge, you have the options to say that the tangent the propagation. So if I click this one, you notice that my fillet, the new fillet, move all the way to the end of these 2 other fillets. So it meets the other sharp edge. So now I remove that sharp edge at the location of the connection of these 3 fillet. So you get a very smooth location, a smooth face here. And you have some advanced feature here that you can use them. So you can keep the edge, so you can keep some of the edge. If you have different lines, it keep the edge of those. Or one of the other options that you see that here, I put the 30 millimeter, but I have a circle, and I click on that and I move it. It changed the radius of my fillet. So you can see that the radius change when I move this item. So let's put the 30 for now. Okay, so the next fillet is the full round. So the full round, you don't have the options to define the radius. The software automatically create the arc between the 3 faces that you select. So right now for this box, I can create the full round because all of these lines, they are almost at the same dimension, and I can easily create so I click on the 3 face. So I go to the view because I want to select the other face behind this one. So I select these 3. Now you can see that I get my arc shape here. So this is something you don't have control. If you want to change the radius of this arc, you need to change the length of your original box, and also the amount of the extrude that you define here. So if I change the length, the extrude amount from the 100 to 200, I get a different shape for this arc. So let me delete this one. Okay. The next command that we are going over is the chamfer. For the chamfer, instead of creating the smooth arc, you create you cut the sharp edge from the 2 faces or for the 1 line. You have 3 different options to create your chamfer. So the first one is you define the chamfer with the 1 distance and 1 angle. So there's a 1 distance, and then you cut your edge with the angle that you define. The next one is that you define the chamfer with the two different distance. So you know what is the distance you want to create the chamfer and you put them. Or you can create with the one symmetry shape. So again, this one is for the distance. So you put the one distance and the software automatically put the equal distance in the other side. So for the first one, let's select the line that I want to create the chamfer here. So here to show you the difference, I put the 30 to make it bigger. So now I have my chamfer for the 30 millimeter. Let me select this one to make it more obvious from this view that we're looking at. So I take off the tangent for now because the tangent is not working here. I have the sharp edge, so the tangent propagation is not applied here. So if you can see when I click on that, doesn't show anything inside my preview. The next thing is that if you look at the your preview, you have two options. One of them, so let me zoom in. So one option is that you see that the circle, this is the size. So right now it's 30 millimeter. If I move this one, I get the different numbers. So you can see there's a ruler here. I can expand this one. So I get the, let's say I put the 50. And then the other one is your angle. So right now the angle is 45 degrees. If I move this one, you can see that another ruler shows up and it shows the angle that I want to create. Right now, let's say that I put that at 30 degree. So now you see that if I click OK, when I select that line, 30 millimeter, it goes inside in this direction, and then from that point, from this line, so this line is a 30 millimeter from my edge, and then I have 30 degree cut for this chamfer. So if I go into the edit, you can see this is my line for edit for the edge. I go 30 millimeters, 50 millimeters in this direction, in this face, and then I have the cut of the 30 degree. So let's make it like the 30 and make this one 45. Now let's put another one. So I put another chamfer, and this time I select this line. And now let's show that for the distance. So for the distance, right now is the 30 millimeter. So 30 millimeter from this line, and you get the 12 millimeter from the other edge. If I flip the direction, I get the, so right now it doesn't accept the flip the direction. So let me make it like 15 millimeter, then make me 5. So now I have a very small chamfer. So let's make it, you see that the tangent right now is not showing any difference because still I have a sharp edge here in this line. So let's put it 30 and put this one like the 20. Okay, now let's put another chamfer, and this time I select this line. And if I select this line, you see that when I create my chamfer, it goes and stops at the location of the original contact point of the two edges before I create my chamfer. So now I get the sharp edge at the location of the points that these three meet each other, these three chamfer. To make sure that I have a smooth transition for the chamfer, I can just go and edit this one, and now I can say that okay, make it tangent, and then I go and say that okay, put the cap. Now when I put the cap, you can see that that is a sharp edge is not showing anymore. So instead of the sharp point at this location, you have some kind of the cap or very smooth surface at the location of these three, the location that these three chamfer meet each other. Okay, so now you know how to create the chamfer and also your fillet. The next command I'm going over and explain that is shell. The shell command is to create a scene wall for your object. So you create the feature of your object, and then you just remove everything from your object and just leave the small shell. So to do that, I select the shell. So for the shell, I have different options here. The first one is that you can shell the body. So instead of selecting the face and create the shell, if I select the body, all of this shape is one body. So if I click on this one, it automatically creates the shell for this one body that I selected. So I can select the 5mm. So now you can see that I have, so the shell that I created hollow the inside of this object. So if I go to the tools and create the cut, so I just flip the side, and now you can see that the inside of my body removed, all of the material is removed, and I have the shell with the thickness of the 5mm. Now instead of that, let's say that I just want to have I want to have my shell start from the top face. So I just want to have a thin wall starting from this face. So I select that one and I click OK. Now I have my shell. So let me move it a little. Let's create another shell for them. So I select the shell, select this face, and click OK. Okay. So now you can see that I have a thin wall. Okay. So if I zoom in, you can see that I created a thin wall for the shape that I created from before. And you can see that here the thickness for even this fillet is 5mm, because I first created the fillets and then I created my shell. If I create the shell and then I create the fillet or chamfer, the difference is that then I don't get the same thickness at that point. So let me show you the difference here. So if I go back and let me turn off this view. So if I delete one of these fillets, so if I go and delete these two fillets, let's show on the chamfer. So let me delete these fillets, these chamfers. Okay, now let me show you on this edge. So right now on this edge I have, so let me put that, I put the chamfer back. I want to show you on this edge. So on this edge you can see that right now I have the 5mm from this point to the to this edge. But if I select the, after I created my fillet, if I select this edge and then I create another chamfer, then this chamfer is so big, so it cut through the inside of my object. So I need to make it smaller, so I keep with the angle. Okay, I think make it 10. 5 is okay. Now you can see that when I create the chamfer after I created my shell, I have the distance from this point to this line is less than the 5 millimeter, the thickness of my shell. So you need to make, and also you see that you have a sharp edge at the inside. So the sequence that you create your chamfer and also your command is very important when you create your object. So now if I move this up to the here, and I just update this one. So I just edit this one. Now click OK. Now you can see that when my chamfer is before the shell, now I get the same distance as a 5 millimeter from this point to the inside point. So just let me make this one okay too. So now I get all of my chamfers. Okay. The next thing is that the face that you select, you can select the other lines and change the thickness of some of the faces. For example, let's say that I want to have a different thickness for this face. So I just go to my shell, the command that I created, the first one, and I said that, okay, I just want to have a custom thickness. So now I select my face here. So I need to select the face in the back. So let me move it like this. Okay, I select this face, and then I say that I want to be 10 millimeter. Okay, now you can see that I have a thickness for this wall is different now. Okay, so let's turn off the pan. Then I go here. So I have a 10 millimeter and I put the 1. So I just want to make it 15. Okay. You notice that when I change the thickness for this face, you have some discrepancy here. So these two lines are at the same thickness of the pen. Then you have this face with the 15 millimeter. Let's say that you like to have the same thickness for all of the edges that are tangent to this original face. For example, this line, this face, and this one is tangent to this face. So if I go back, so let me zoom out a little so you can see the difference between these lines. So now you have a 5 there, but you have a sharp edge, so that face doesn't change when I go here under my sketch. And I select the tangent propagation. So if I select the tangent, you can see here, now all of these lines that are tangent to my face, they have the same thickness of the 15. So now this one, this face, and the other one, they receive the 15 millimeter thickness. So that's the difference for the when you select the tangent. So to show you again, if I deselect the tangent, you can see the difference on this part. So when I deselect the tangent, you only increase the thickness of this face. Okay. You can also add more faces in your, so instead of only one face that I selected here, I can select the more faces like this face or the back face here, so you have more options to select your different faces instead of only selecting your one. And the next thing is that changing the direction of your shell. Right now the shell going inside, so the original rectangle that I created, let's say that was with some numbers like the 100 by 100, the shell that I created is inward, so the inside parameter is smaller. But if I change the direction to the outward, the outside right now is bigger than the original rectangle that I created at the beginning. Or you can say that you want to have in both sides. So in that way you have a 5 millimeter outward and 5 millimeter inward for your shell thickness. So now I have a 10 millimeter, and my original sketch, you can see this is my original sketch. So if I zoom in, so this is my original sketch, you can see that, and my shell is in the both sides of this original sketch that I created. Okay, so the last command that we are going over for today is called the draft. So the draft is the options that give you this ability to create the faces with the angle. So if I select my draft, and then I say that, okay, I just want to, let me just create, okay, so let me make it in the some view that you can see. So now you have two options. The first option is that you need to define the face or the line that is your reference. So the reference that you want to have, and then create the face that you want to have a draft through those neutral entities. So I select this face in the top. So that's the face that I want. This face I want to be, like, for example, 15 degree or 30 degree away from the top. So I select the face that I want to create the draft, and then I put the 50. Now you can see that this green line show me how this face will get the draft. So this is my the reference for creating my draft, and this is the face that I want to create the draft. Now you can see that if I make it normal from this face, you have 15 degree this line or this face moved outward. So if I create okay, so now you can see that I have the 15-degree, this is the first line, and then I have a 15-degree outward draft for this face. The next thing is that you need to notice, because I create the draft before I creating my shell, you see that the thickness of my shell is different. It's not the 5 for the new draft part. In other words, if I want to have the same 5 millimeter or 10 millimeter that I have in the top, in this inside too, you need to move the draft. You create your draft before you apply your shell. So I just click on the draft and move it up. Then this is the second. I click OK. Now you can see that I get the 5 millimeter thickness for my new draft here. Also, you can change the direction of your angle from the, right now I have the 5 millimeter or 10 millimeter. So if I go and want to edit this one, right now it goes outward. I can change the direction and say that I want to have the draft goes inward. Now I get the this face goes inside of my original object. Okay, so this is the most of the features that you can usually use, and these are mostly the secondary commands because you use them for the design purpose. This is mostly for the reducing the stress or creating the when you want to fit two objects together, you create the chamfer, and also creating the shell and the draft for your part that you want. Let me go over the saving your file. I noticed that maybe it's making some confusion. So if you just save your part, this part will be saved in your My space. So this is the space that you can maybe share with some other individual, but if you want to save it in your the drive, that this Dassault drive that you have, you need to export your file. So first you need to save it in your space, and then you export it to your drive or your computer. So now, okay, see that you have the different options to select the different extension for your file that you want to save, and then you have options to save it in your 3D drive. So this 3D drive is the 3D drive related to the Dassault system, and you install the location of that you inside your computer. So this one, the 3D drive, is like the Google Drive, or you can save it in your computer. So you can save it in your hard drive or somewhere, and then you can upload in the or email it to anyone. So I select the 3D drive because I installed my 3D drive in my computer. Then you can select the location. So just put on my file, and I just export that. So it's successful. And also I can save it in my computer and just export that in my computer. So it download the file, and it just goes to your download file. So in the folder. So if I open the folder, this is my download folder. And these two are the 3D experience drive that I have. So if I click on them, this is the file that I just saved here. Okay. So if I want to show you, this is the 3D space that you can, when you only save your file, it just sit down in this space. But if you want to add it to your 3D drive, you need to export that. You see that it's sit down in my 3D drive. And for your 3D drive, for the first time when you come here and you run your 3D drive, it asks you to install the location in your computer. Now your hard drive in your computer is related to this file. So if you want to add something, you just go, and so if I want to add something here, just go my PC and I open this file and I upload, or I just drag the file that I want to this drive, and it's automatically show in my 3D drive inside my app.